NASCAR vs. Supercars, the brutal truth about why Americans fear Bathurst. You're strapped into a car you've never driven, on a track that has killed 16 people, heading downhill at 300 km/h with a concrete wall on your right and nothing, no wall of hay, no gravel trap, to catch you if you get it wrong. Your hands no ovals. Your feet no one pedal at a time. And in for seconds, none of that is going to save you. This isn't fiction. This was almost real. And the man who was supposed to be in that seat pulled out at the last second. Here's why. Mount Panorama, home of the Bathurst circuit in New South Wales, Australia, is widely regarded as one of the most dangerous racetracks still in active use. The elevation change across the lap exceeds 170 meters, and the concrete walls that line sections like the top of the mountain leave almost no margin for error. In 2015, Chaz Mostert crashed during practice at speeds high enough to break his leg and wrist before his car had even come to a complete stop. Before we go further, my channel, NASCAR Track Report, is closing in on 500 subscribers, and every single one of you watching right now is part of why this channel keeps growing. If you haven't already, hitting subscribe and dropping a like genuinely helps this content reach more fans who care about the sport as much as you do. Your support is what keeps breakdowns like this one coming. Now back to the mountain. The mechanical gap between a NASCAR Cup Series car and a Gen 3 supercar is not a minor technical footnote, it's the entire story. NASCAR machines run sequential, auto-blip gearboxes, meaning the driver never has to coordinate throttle and brake inputs during a downshift. Supercars, by contrast, demand heel-toe technique, manually blipping the throttle while braking to match engine speed on downshifts. It is a skill NASCAR drivers are simply never asked to develop over an entire career on ovals. James Hinchcliffe, a veteran of both open-wheel and stock car racing, was blunt about what that gap means in practice. Talking about the idea of a NASCAR driver getting limited seat time before racing against career supercars professionals, he said plainly, "No, he's not going to win." That's not a fan's opinion or a hot take from a YouTube commentary channel, that's a professional driver stating the mechanical reality out loud. This is where the real controversy begins, because the story was supposed to have a very different ending. Shane van Gisbergen, the reigning master of Bathurst who made the jump to NASCAR and won on debut at the Chicago street race, publicly said he believed both Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch would perform well in a supercar. He went further, offering to personally help either driver if they had questions about adapting to the car. It was framed as an open invitation from the one man who had already proven the swap could work in reverse. Larson himself didn't sound convinced. Before the plan collapsed, he admitted he wouldn't be surprised to finish last if he lined up against Australia's full-time supercars field. That's a significant admission, one of NASCAR's most decorated active drivers, a two-time Cup Series champion, saying out loud that he expected to be outclassed before he'd even sat in the car. Then came the twist. Larson had a signed contract with the South Australian Motorsport Board to drive for Premier Racing at the Adelaide round, with backing from NAPR. The deal was real, it was signed, and it was public. And then he walked away from it. This wasn't an isolated decision. It marked the second consecutive year that a top NASCAR Cup Series driver backed out of a planned Supercars appearance, following Kyle Busch's own abandoned wildcard entry the year before. Two of NASCAR's biggest stars, 2 years in a row, both pulled out of the exact same challenge before it happened. Larson's stated reason centered on logistics. He said the trip would be even tougher than doing Indy, pointing to the need to spend 2 to 3 weeks in Australia to properly prepare, time that would pull him away from his Cup Series commitments during a stretch of the season he couldn't afford to miss. That's the official explanation, and it's a reasonable one on paper. But sit with the gap between that stated reason and what came before it, the driver who said he expected to finish last, backing out of the one race where that outcome was most likely to happen on camera. Compare that to what Van Gisbergen did in the opposite direction. He didn't get extra weeks of preparation. He didn't get a soft landing. He showed up in a stock car, on a street circuit he'd never raced, against full-time NASCAR professionals, and won on debut in 2023. The reverse trip, an Australian conquering NASCAR on unfamiliar machinery, has already happened. The trip the other way, an American conquering Bathurst, has now been avoided twice in a row by the two drivers who were supposed to make it happen. The mechanical case against a NASCAR driver winning at Bathurst is solid. The heel toe requirement, the elevation, the walls, the 16 fatalities in the circuit's history, all of that is real and well documented. But mechanical difficulty alone doesn't explain why two signed, funded, publicly announced deals both collapsed before a wheel was turned in anger. Larson had Napa's backing. He had a contract with a state motorsport board. He had Van Gisbergen's personal offer to help him prepare. And he still walked away. So when Larson says it's about logistics, 2 or 3 weeks he couldn't spare, is that the real reason? Or is Mount Panorama the one place where even NASCAR's most confident, most decorated driver wasn't willing to roll the dice on national television? If this breakdown made you think differently about what happened with Larson and Bathurst, drop a comment with your take. Was it really about the schedule, or something else? Share this video with another NASCAR fan who needs to hear this story, and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. If you enjoy real NASCAR breakdowns like this, you'll like what's coming next.